Yeah, we were stopped a lot. And that's the garbage, part of the garbage that made me so angry.
Well, okay, well, tell that story then.
Well, so the people for the garbage truck came, and at the time, this is really all messed up in my mind. It was a lot of bombings, church burnings, not bombings, church burnings that were going on. And the garbage truck came, and as I said, the people in city government were horrified. They really thought they were going to have another Memphis, and that it was going to be organized, and that people would come in. And somebody did come in who was part of an organizing committee. And so I wasn't part of the planning for this. A guy came in from SNCC or something, and he was from Memphis, but he was definitely like a lower tier guy, and he was helping people, and we were having meetings at the school. And that's when a bomb threat came through. We were sitting at the school one day, and everybody had to evacuate. And
which school?
The Northwoods.
Oh, Northwoods. I'm making just clarifying.
I'm sorry. We're all there. There was so many memories of that. It was such deja vu when I walked into to work in my granddaughter's kindergarten class. But they came in, and as I said, these predominantly older people wanted a minuscule raise. I forget what it was, and they wanted showers. That was it. And the city said absolutely not. And so almost all of them were black. And then later on, when we started marching with them, we realized a lot of them were preachers, like within their small church communities. And we would literally be walking or marching, and we'd stop. We have to stop and pray. And I'm thinking, get on with this, and I realized, how that was. And so I was transporting people to go to meetings, and I was transporting these organizers that had come in from Memphis. And this one particular time that it happened more than once, but this one particular time it was really acute. This police car just forced me off the road because he was in the car. And that's when this sort of, like when somebody pointed out, and I refer back to my naivete about that picture, that the cars, somebody made a comment, the similarity of the vehicles. And I think we were being watched. That's the only way they could have known. What did they care what this little bopping little girl was doing? All I was doing was driving people around, taking them to meetings and stuff like that. But so they really overreacted to that. And so what happened because of that is the garbage workers went on strike. And what happened was that there were enough people that were left working and went on strike that the garbage was picked up like in the South and other parts like that. And it was not picked up in the projects around the black communities. And so this went on for like at least 3 weeks. And so people started having trash fires. And one night I got a call from Binford Court, which is now gone, and it was old. I think it was World War II barracks, is what I think it was. It was something, and it had been converted into public housing, and it's gone because it was in bad shape even then. And they said there's trash fires down, the police are coming, and you got to come down. Somebody called me, and I went down there, and it was eerie. It was night, and there was fires burning everywhere, and the cops were like walking in. People had mounds of garbage hadn't been picked up in weeks. And there was people out in the street, and there was some yelling and stuff. It says Memphis Court was entirely black, and I had a bunch of friends down there, and I saw this cop. He had a slingshot and a ball bearing, and I saw another cop break a kid's arm. The kid was 12 years old, a boy's arm. And finally, people said to me, "You need to leave." I just watched. There was nothing I could do. I was so angry. That's fun. That's part of why I stopped doing some of that work. I knew that I would just get eaten up. I was so angry, after years and years, and I left the welfare department after 2 years because I got an ulcer. We had this enormous caseload, and it was just a lot.
Well, so I want to follow up on what you said about the strike. I mean, so it sounds like the city was prioritizing garbage pick. They had enough labor that they could prioritize garbage pickup in the South.
In the affluent parts of town.
Yeah. In the predominantly white southern part of town, and then So did that mean that
probably in Blossomwood places like that too?
Right, exactly. But did that mean that there was division within the black community over? I mean, were there sort of rank and file black people in town saying like, let's end this strike because they're not, because of what's happening to our community, or was there a lot of solidarity with the garbage strikers?
I don't know. I was just affiliating with the people that were on strike. I didn't hear, and there was conversation, and a lot of it is fuzzy in my memory. I wasn't really a part of the garbage strike. I went to some meetings. I transported some people. The picture that was taken, that was interesting because Betty and I were at this meeting, I think, I remember this, and it was with the guy who came in as the organizer, and they were going to have a march. This is how this march came about. And I don't know whether there was conversation about permits or whatever. And I think Huntley Bass, all these people Huntley was not a leader of the community then. He was too young. But there weren't, and I remember a lot of these older people for whom we were striking weren't able to articulate pretty much what they wanted to say. And I think there came a point where a lot of these people said, okay, let's just forget this. It's not working, we're not getting it. And I said the reason we ended up saying, I said they were gonna, I think they had applied for permits, and it was gonna be like all in this, they had given us this path that was all in West End, all out of the main focus. And I said that either at that meeting or the day of, I think it was at the meeting, as I recall, I said, don't do this. I said, we need to march on the Parkway. Think about it, oh my God, if my kids ever did anything like that, I would have killed them. So we marched on the Parkway. And then the cops came and forced us off. We ended up all through West End, and nobody but the people who were, whose garbage wasn't being picked up saw us. But for a brief period of time when that picture was taken, we were on the Parkway. And so anyhow, I think they ended up getting a little bit of money, extra money.
Right, gotcha. But there was no union, there was no sort of long-term organization.
No,
yeah,
no, there wasn't. People were too intimidated. People were too intimidated, and there weren't enough people to stand up and say, or there wasn't enough, whatever it is that it takes to get like a Montgomery or whatever. There wasn't enough to get up and say, we're going to do this. Because I think what people did in Huntsville, my take at the time was at least the white leadership, they would give people enough to take the edge off. It would never be totally resolved. That was my take.